Was there any animosity between your brother and yourself at the time that you got signed and he did not?
There was no like out front animosity, but he never said anything bad about me. He tried to do what he could to help me and make sure that I was ready. I feel like it was a bit unspoken. Like I felt bad that he wasn't going, and I think he knew that I felt bad. So at certain times we wouldn't want to talk about it. But the worst part about it was I sent my promo tape to WWE against his advice. I asked him, I said, hey, can I send them a packet? And he goes, no, you're not ready. And I should have listened to him because I wasn't ready. That's, what happened there in the end when I ended up getting released. So I sent the package anyway. I got the job, and, I think, I can't say that there was any ill feelings, but I definitely think, he wishes I would have listened to him. And, he was right. I, to this day, wish I would have listened to him. But at the same time, that experience was invaluable. And, it definitely worked out in my favor.
Buddy Stetcher. Tell me about Buddy Stetcher. Was there ever a plan in place for Buddy Stetcher?
Never anything for me anywhere down there. I was there. I had a really, really good first couple months. I was there maybe 3 or 4 months, and everything was starting hot, and I was doing exactly what I thought I was going to do. I planned on coming in as a 21-year-old, taking over the world, and being the next WWE champion. And for a couple months, that went well. Then I believe the name was something that kind of was one of the first little punches I received, and I didn't quite get it. I didn't know how to wrap my head around it. I've always done a generally 80s wrestling character, just with the bleach blonde hair and overwhelmingly silly. So my idea was to be Buddy Holiday. That was my wrestling name that I gave to them. And I thought it's a bit ridiculous, but I think considering the character, it was going to work. And they said, hey, we're going to call you Buddy Stetcher. Yeah, cool, let's make that work. And I looked at my buddy and says, what the hell is that? I don't know what this means. Like, God, that sucks. And to this day, people laugh about it and, give me hell about it. So at the end of the day, it's funny because if you could look back at my FCW career and run and see the transformation, it's almost worth looking that bad because, the other side of the coin is so shiny that it's kind of worth showing off.
What do you feel like maybe they didn't give you do you feel like they didn't give you a fair shake there?
No, I wouldn't. I don't think it was a fair shake at all. I think it was more along the lines that I was just in a position I should have never been in. I think I got handed an opportunity. I was just way too young. I was very good at conducting myself around the right people. And they said, yeah, let's give it to them. But I think I was probably a little bit better at creating a facade than anything. I don't think, I don't think they knew enough about me to really know whether or not that investment was worth it for them or not. So I just think in the end of the day, I wasn't ready to be there. I was a 21-year-old kid, first time ever living outside of my parents' house, in Tampa, Florida, where now I'm making WWE money. It was definitely, a lot of factors were against my favor. So
you got injured, you got released. I would think that would be devastating. If it would have happened to me, I would have been just crushed. How did it affect you?
Well, the funny thing is the crushingness, the crushingness. I was crushed before that point. The injury crushed me. The injury pretty much took my soul away from me, and so every day I was just depressed as can be. I hated going to work because I couldn't be in the ring. I hated going to work because I had that whole. I was the new guy. I was the guy that had to prove himself, but I couldn't prove myself. So to them. In a sense, I could be incorrect. I kind of felt that I was written off the day I got my surgery. I feel like, hey, okay, that didn't work. This guy's done. Let's just let him heal up and, keep him around. He can sweep the floor and hold the cables until he goes. Looking back, I think it was kind of like that. But that's what hurt. That's what really, made me upset. And there was times, I talked to my dad on the phone saying, Dad, I think I need to quit. I don't think I can be here. I can't handle being here. And, luckily he talked me out of it because, I think that would have been a different outcome altogether. But, when the release happened, it was such a relief because there was no more pressure. It was their decision. I knew I was 21. And my entire time there, I always had in the back of my head, like, man, there's a lot I never got to do. I'm happy. I'm so happy I got signed young, but, I always had this idea that I'm going to go be Mr. Journeyman Wrestler all over the world. I'm going to earn a name and, I'm going to earn this position instead of just being handed it. So, that mentality was always in the back of my head. And, some of my friends would explain to me what Japan was like, what Mexico was like, what England was like. So, all that in my head while I can't do anything. I can't even, take a back bump. But a million emotions, a million thoughts going through the head. Basically, when it did come down to the day, when I got cut, it was kind of like, okay, you're all right, you'll be fine.
How did they deliver that news to you?
It's funny because I missed the call first, which I missed the call from a Connecticut number, and I think within 15 or 20 minutes we had heard that a friend of mine, Shane, had been released. So I was getting gas, and we were getting ready to go to an FCW live event at the other end of the state, and I'm like stalling purposely because I have guys driving in my car. And then I got a phone call at a BP in Tampa, and Johnny Ace was on the line and says, hey, we're gonna end this for you. He says, if it's gonna be right, you'll be back. You're young, you have a lot of life to live. He says, you're a good kid, no ill feelings. And that's basically how they presented it to me, and I kind of took it all in. I was kind of like, oh, okay, cool, thank you so much. And it took a little bit to set in, but, that initial impression was just like, wow, okay, I don't have to drive 4 hours right now. Wow, I'm in Florida, I have nothing to do today. Okay, cool, let's try to get back up on the horse, so.
You were relieved at first, you said earlier, but once you had a moment to think about it, were you more of the line of thought, the hell with these guys, I have no interest in ever coming back here, or was it more, I'll show you guys, I'll be back here one day, and I'm going to take this place over?
I've never thought that, either one of those, at any point ever in my life, because there's never been a point where I've wanted to be a pro wrestler. I've always knew I was going to be a pro wrestler. It's never been a dream. It's just been what I'm going to do, which is kind of cool to think about, because I'm all into that spiritual, like that happy thoughts and all that positive thinking stuff. But, like, if you ask, my mom has this poster of me, I think I was about 5 or 6 years old, a picture of me, a drawing I did of what I want to be when I grow up, and it's me in an ECW shirt saying I'm going to be a pro wrestler, and it's not what I want to do, it's what I was going to do. So when that happened, it was like, okay, well, what's next? Where do we go from here? It was never, oh crap, I have to go get a job now. It was just, it wasn't goodbye, it was see you later kind of thing. Mm-hmm. But none of it was vindictive, none of it was malicious. It was all very, okay, wow, okay, round one's done. Where do we go for round two?
By way of your friendship with William Regal, you were able to get some opportunities in the UK and Europe. When you first went there, what was that experience like for you?
Brian Dixon's All-Star Wrestling is the last wrestling territory anywhere on the planet. And I will say that to this day, it is the best place for any young wrestler to ever learn.
Why?
I'm a firm believer that there's no wrestling school on earth that can teach you to be a good wrestler. You need on-the-job training. You need in-ring experience. You need to be on shows, whether it's 30 people or 8,000 people. You need to be in front of an audience to create that character and who you're going to become. But that level of shows, that the consistency of his events really molded me into who I was going to become. Because you're wrestling with the same guys on the same circuits, in front of different audiences. You learn so much about how to work audiences, work timing. And Brian Dixon's been promoting shows for 45 years, so his standard is at a different level. So I was able to take what I've learned at WWE and to apply it to a territory standard, if you will. And at the same time, being 21 years old, still receiving a paycheck from WWE, living in the United Kingdom, wrestling in a different city every night of the week, there was something pretty special and exciting about that, just from a life standpoint. So that really, it turned my frown upside down, if you will. It really made me enjoy pro wrestling again. And it basically was a fresh start. And the beauty of working for WWE, it basically gave me the credibility that I'm not just an indie guy. It's not just, hey, oh, yeah, let me give you a shot. When I had that stamp approval on my resume, when I say I worked for WWE, I was getting opportunities in the United Kingdom and England, or France, Germany, Spain, Italy. And I was able to travel the world and really rise to the next level because, that stamp of approval said I was good enough. I felt inside I needed to show the people that I'm at least worth that extra money you're paying me, or you know, I at least have to make sure I live up to the hype of that WWE banner.
While you're there, after a while, you won the British heavyweight title. Now, this title has the same lineage that guys like Tony Sinclair, Fit Finlay, Dave Taylor, and others have won this same title in the same lineage. When you're winning a title like this, do you even have time or understanding to appreciate the coolness factor in something like this?
Well, I'm a heel, and I'm a heel as in every sense of the word. My job is to make baby faces look good. And I don't want to be the cool heel. I don't want you to like me and say I'm a good worker.
No, I'm not saying
I want you to hate me.
I'm not saying from that standpoint. I'm saying from you personally.
Yeah,
were you able to appreciate how cool
I'm getting there.
Okay, all right. Maybe I thought maybe I misspoke the question.
That's what I'm good at. So generally, I never win belts. I don't want to win belts. I don't want to be your champion. I want to get your champion over. I want to be that guy that helps, you know, sell the tickets of your guy winning the belt or being the champion. So, you know, I never think much about belts, never wanted to win a belt. But when I heard that, it kind of like hit me. And I look at it like the tortoise and the hare. The slow and steady wins the race, you know. I never needed the politic to be the international champion or this guy's champion, you know. There's a million guys that have been every, you know, local little indie company's champion 33 times. I basically had no titles anywhere in Europe. And then when it was given to me the opportunity to win this title, it really hit me and it really made me feel so special because from a wrestler side of things, it's one thing to, you know, to be the British champion on a fan standpoint and that, you know, that's you're carrying the banner for that company and that presentation. But inside wrestling, you know, the fact that this is Brian Dixon, this is one of the top 10 most legendary promoters in history, you know, and the fact that he gave me the stamp of approval. The fact is, for 45 years, there's never been one of his American wrestlers that he could say, yep, that's my guy. That's what meant so much more to me. And, you know, it really did. It was cool as can be knowing that I was able to represent him. And like you said, those names you mentioned, they're just invaluable, you know, just being on that same Wikipedia page or whoever's going to look that title up and know anything about it. My name's right up there with some of the best of them. And to me, you know, it's a pride and an honor that I, you know, really will take with me to the grave, if you will.
You had real success there in England, no doubt about it. Was it a difficult decision to leave?
I don't think I ever really left England. I actually go back in August. I'll be working for Dixon once again. It wasn't necessarily a decision to leave. It was just a decision to pursue new opportunities. And I've always, you know, done my best to not burn any bridges with anybody. I've had the opportunity for Mexico for so long, but my commitments to England is what kept me there. It's what put all that all off. So finally, after I won the title and when I was a champion for a while, I was at the top of the mountain. You know, where do you go from there? So basically, I decided to pursue the opportunities in Mexico, and I think it was just, you know, right place, right time, and all the stars seemed to align, and I definitely made the right decision. However, you know, I was able to keep my status and situation where it is in England, and that leads me back there here in a few weeks.
You mentioned Mexico. What was your first impressions when you got there of Mexico?
Well, all I knew about Mexico was the mask and the show side of things. I was so excited to learn. I was under the impression that everything was just bigger, badder, and better in Mexico because it was such a huge part of the culture. I was fascinated by it my entire life, you know. Again, I've seen more Mexican wrestlers than most American wrestlers have seen American wrestling. You know, I've studied every corner of it, you know, from the 60s through the now. And, you know, I wanted to be a part of it and wanted to learn it and wanted to see it. And the grass is always greener on the other side. You know, you get there and the first thing you see is the city and the cultural side first. You know, that's what you have to get past in order to survive in the sports side of things, to survive in the wrestling. So, I needed to learn Spanish fast. I learned that, you'd have to be on a train for 40 minutes to get to the gym, to go train for 2 hours without a shower, to get back on that train, to go 40 minutes back. There was a lot of, I can't say, it was a sacrifice just moving to that quality of a city, and kind of, giving up the amenities of life, being able to drive 10 minutes down the street to the ring and, go into an air-conditioned facility and take a shower afterwards. I had to respect their traditions and cultures down there, but at the same time, I had to take a step back because professional wrestling in Mexico is a whole different world. And it's the only place you will go where the names Terry Funk and Hulk Hogan don't mean anything. I mean, literally, they have their own culture, their own ideas of what wrestling is, who the good wrestlers are, the greats are. So I really had to, start at the bottom again, prove to myself who I was and what I'm capable of. And I had to, basically show off in training environments. I'd have to go back to wrestling class. And, it was cool because I was able to get rid of some of my complacency. I was able to test myself once again. And once I passed my own tests, I was able to get the opportunities that I deserved presented to me. And again, it definitely helped having that WWE badge on the resume. But as far as British heavyweight champion goes, that means nothing to them down there. They didn't care where I was coming from or who I am. I'm a tall white guy that's here training with them. So I definitely had to, work hard to get what I got down there.
You weren't in Mexico very long. You got to move over to CMLL, which is, for anybody that doesn't know, it's the oldest wrestling federation in the world. How did that come about?
I was actually supposed to meet with AAA about working with them for the first time, and that's what brought me to Mexico. Is I had an opportunity to meet with them through a friend of mine, Angelico from Lucha Underground. And before I went to that meeting, I wanted to train in Arena Mexico just to say I did it, just for the experience. And I know that it's a different level. It's not just, hey, come to wrestling training. I would hold a CMLL workout against the highest level of professional athletes in the world. It's that difficult. So I wanted to see if I could hang, and I got fast-tracked. I got invited in, and then I got invited back, and then got invited to this, got invited to that. And basically, within about a week and a half's time, I was invited to represent the USA on their pay-per-view because I was in town. So the whole AAA thing went on the wayside. They got me my visa, and then fast-tracked to the top over there. And, the 2 years have gone by so fast, I can't even, fit it into words.
So it's been probably 2 years ago. Everywhere I looked on my social media feeds, I'd see Sam Adonis, Trump, this whole ordeal. I saw interviews with Vice News, NBC, CNN, others. You found a ton of success as this Trump supporter character. Was there ever a point where maybe you were a little apprehensive about doing this character? I mean, all we know is what we hear on the news about Mexico. How is it maybe different than what the perception is?
Well, the number one difference would be the fact that people think it's a Donald Trump character or a tribute or a sympathizer. And realistically, it never was that. It's more along the lines of, I'm such a goof, such an idiot, such a jerk, that I'm going to find your weakness and I'm going to point it out. So if you had a peanut allergy, I'd probably throw peanuts at you. If you were allergic to corn, I'll throw tortillas at you. That's who Sam Adonis was. And I came out with a picture of Donald Trump onto my tights, and it was just received so well that my bosses, my office told me to, go with that, use that as your angle. And the people just ate it up, and they got so excited, so angry all the time. It just added that extra aspect of excitement to the matches. That I'm a firm believer that, Batman is nothing without the Joker. You need a strong villain to sell your babyface. And that, couldn't be more relevant than what I was doing in Mexico City. And that's why I was able to have the success I was have. And I think it went so well with the character that I have. Because, a good wrestler, babyface or heel, has to believe what they're doing. Because if you don't believe it, how are 10,000 people are going to believe it? I'm just such a fumbling idiot that's just smiling and happy all the time. And I'm so, hey, we got a good president. Come on, enjoy this, it worked. It was kind of like the perfect storm, and it took on a life of its own. But I like to think I was able to rise up and kind of make the best out of it. And now, now I have a different reputation because of what I was able to do down there.
Donald Trump's a guy that we see on the news every day, and he seems to be very in touch with pop culture. Do you think there's a chance that he knew about what you were doing?
There's 150% chance he knows exactly who I am. It's impossible for him to not know who I am, considering the amount of press that I've had. I mean, the office, the White House has media correspondents that work around the clock, telling the office what's going on, and it might be something as simple as, "Hey, did you see this idiot in Mexico using your picture on a flag?" That might have been the extent of it, but it's impossible for him to ignore that I was doing that just because the circumstances are so absurd. If there's anything that's been what's more pro wrestling than a white boy in Mexico City running around with a flag with the most hated president in history on it?
You think it's cool to think about, or whatever?
I'm so used to it now at this point, and I don't know if that makes me sound super cocky or whatever, but I've enjoyed it for what it was worth, but I never did it for that. I've done it because I love pro wrestling so much. I want to give back to pro wrestling. I want people that didn't care about pro wrestling for the last 2 years in Mexico to get back into it because this villain's so strong. They used to like it, but now, oh man, I want to watch it again because I got to see that gringo get his ass kicked. That's what I did it for. So I truly believe if your heart's in the right place, it usually has some good fringe benefits about it. So that's the way I feel. I've never really cared if he knew about it or not, but who knows? If he knows about it and wanted to do something about it, I'd do whatever he tells me to do because he's the president.
Sure. While in Mexico, I mean, you wrestled a ton of absolute legends of Lucha Libre. I'm going to name a few of them. I wrote them down, and I'm sure I'm going to miss them. Maybe you can add a few to this. Blue Panther, Ultimo Dragon, Mystico, Super Crazy. Who else?
Atlantis. Atlantis was one that for me just blew my mind. I was in the ring with him my first night, my debut in Arena Mexico on a Friday night, which is unheard of. For me, again, it was just like, wait, is this real? Negro Casas, another one who he's more like a wrestler's wrestler. He might not be the most famous luchador you've known, but most you'll hear from the Fit Finleys and the Eddie Guerreros, the Chris Jerichos. These guys will tell you that Negro Casas is one of the best wrestlers in history. So I mean, just being able to wrestle with him for 6 months every night of the week is unbelievable. For me, like I said, I mentioned Ultimo Dragon earlier. He was one of my childhood heroes, and it's unbelievable the fact that I took his mask off in Arena Mexico. Just being around these guys have made me the wrestler that I am today. Blue Panther is the best wrestler I've ever been in the ring with by a lot. He has different qualities to Negro Casas, but as far as just being in there and you're wrestling with someone that's on a different level, it's Blue Panther. I'm getting excited just thinking about it, how good that guy is. It's just surreal sometimes because I can think back of how many hours you could say I wasted as a little fat kid, not playing sports, not talking to girls, not being a kid, being basically a wrestling nerd in my basement on the computer, watching these guys. To me, that's almost like that was the work I was putting in. That was the studying. That was getting ready. And now to know that, oh, yeah, I'm on with Panther again tonight. Oh, man, my head hurts. It'll be easy. It's just insane to think about that. But, I couldn't be happier about everything it's brought me.
You said that you learned so much from these guys. How has working with these legends of Lucha Libre changed you in ring?